Hello everyone, in this video we'll see how we can use the SDK Magic Tool to export the activity expenses from Excel to Primavera. This will be the video number 40 in this group of videos, and we will use the SQLite database in this video. You can also use Oracle database or SQL Server when you select any of them. From this option, let us update projects, and we will select one of these projects. For example, let us select this project. And from activities menu, search for the activity expenses, and let us import the current expenses in this project from this option. As you see, we have about 13 activity expenses in this project, and the SDK Magic Tool has prepared this table in order to fill in its values and export these expenses to Primavera. In this column you will find a list contains all of activities in this project, and in this column you will find a list for all cost accounts in this database. You can assign any of them to your expenses, and for the expense categories you will find this drop list contains all of expenses categories, and for this column you have three options: if this expense will be at start or at end or uniform. And for the rest of columns you have here these two columns, actual cost and the remaining cost. If you will later would like to update these expenses, you can use these two columns and export these values to Primavera. And these columns for the budgeted units and the price per unit. All of these expenses will be checked and reviewed by the SDK Magic Tool before they will be sent or exported to Primavera. Let us go to Primavera to see the same project. This is our project. Let us open this project. As you see, we have these expenses. We have grouped these activities by the expenses, by the expense value. This is the first activity, and so on. All of these activities have these expenses, the same expenses that we imported in Excel. Let us go to Excel. In order to save time, we will make copy from this sheet in order to use these expenses again. Now we will delete all of these expenses in order to learn how you can use the SDK Magic Tool. All you need is to change this N to Y and then generalize this Y. Now we are ready to remove all of these expenses from the database. From the export menu, search for the activity expenses and export these updates. As you see, it's very fast. Now we have no expenses in this project, but we have the table format that we should fill in order to export these activity expenses again to Primavera. Let us go Primavera to check these updates. As you see, we have these expenses, but after we refresh data in order to get the latest updates in the database, as you see now, if we group by the expenses, we have no expenses in this project. All of these activity expenses have been deleted by the SDK Magic Tool. Let us go to Primavera to prepare these expenses again and export them to Primavera. Let us copy these expenses in order to save time. as if we had prepared them. Copy and paste. All we need is to remove these numbers because these numbers will be set by the SDK Magic Tool, and all of these expenses will be considered as new items in the database. Let us use the SDK Magic Tool to export these expenses. You can export thousands of expenses from Excel to Primavera by using the SDK Magic Tool, but this expenses only as example how you can use the SDK Magic Tool. Let us export these expenses to Primavera. Now we have these expenses in Primavera. When we import the current expenses, as you see, we have now these expenses again in the database, and all of these numbers have been set by the SDK Magic Tool. Let us go Primavera to check these updates. Now we have no expenses. After we refresh data, we have now the same expenses and the same groups according to the value of these expenses. This is the same 13 expenses that we have exported from Excel. As you see, it's very fast and very accurate and also very flexible when you use the SDK Magic Tool to export Primavera items from Excel to the database. Thank you and goodbye.